Okay, guys, join me for a Sunday evening balcony chat. And one of the things I'm going to be discussing today is that people are afraid of change. I'm afraid of change. The average person is afraid of change. People are afraid to change their jobs, move location, change their style, change their hairstyle, change their shoes, everything that you can imagine, right? And the more I got into it, the more I realized that fear of the unknown and fear of change also holds back balding guys quite a lot. And the reason for this is because they're scared of what will happen if they shave their head and embrace their hair loss. And I think it comes down to three main factors. So the first one being uncertainty and loss of control. The second one being catastrophe thinking. And the third one being past trauma or negative experiences. So I'm just going to quickly break down each one. So we're going to go into the first one, which is uncertainty and loss of control. So, that fear of change, people are worried that once you make the change, it's uncharted territory. People aren't really going to be sure of how people are going to react. They're not sure of how they're going to look with a bald head if they decide to shave their hair. And I think whilst they still have hair and they clearly know that they're balding. Most guys who are balding know they're balding. And I think by them keeping their hair and trying to sort of, style it in a certain way to cover it, mask it, disguise it, whatever it is, they give themselves this false sense of control over their own hair. But what they don't realize is that that's not control. Actually taking control would be grabbing the clippers and shaving your head and embracing the hair loss itself. That's real control, but they're sort of, duped into thinking that trying to cover it up is control. It's not. The second one being catastrophe thinking, and that is basically thinking about the worst case scenario. So fear of change, your brain automatically goes to, right, what is the worst thing that will happen once I make this change? That happens in every scenario with change, and it happens for everyone, right? Unless you're super, super confident, etc. But I feel like that's not the average person. So, the average guy, for example, who's balding, you might be going through hair loss yourself right now. You're worried that if you shave your head, go completely bald. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have a weird shaped head. I'm going to look really ugly. Everyone's going to be making fun of me. No girl's ever going to find me attractive. I'm never going to get a girlfriend, a wife again. I'm going to have a hat on to, cover all this up. I'm never going to be able to grow my hair out. All these different options come to your mind, worst case scenario thinking, and that's as a result of the fear of change. Now, the third one, which is past trauma or negative experiences. Now, I feel like this is quite a big one, and this is because negative experiences are pretty much the only thing you hear about with guys who are balding, right? You hear about how they're depressed, they look ugly, they're overweight. Normally you think they look older. And I feel like the way that marketing is also designed towards balding guys is, to cover it up, to disguise yourself. If you take this pill and regrow your hair, you'll get your confidence back. Everything is geared towards saying that balding is a negative experience when it's not. Again, previous trauma. People make jokes, bald guys all the time. You hear it on TV, comedians, just the average people in the street. Someone's bald, crack a few jokes. If you're mates with that person, that bald person's, okay with it, fair enough. But I feel like that's not the average experience. People think, making fun of a bald guy is just, free game for everyone. When it shouldn't be. That should change, because you wouldn't be so open about making fun of people, with obesity or disabilities, etc. And at the end of the day, hair loss is something that a man can't control. So you're making fun of a man out of something that he can't control. So, that's all past trauma that balding guys would have experienced, they would have witnessed themselves. And that is something that they would fear with that change if they grab the clippers and shave off their hair. And again, it could be cultural related. So, I'm from an Indian background, and hair in India is a bit of a status thing. Okay, so hair is viewed quite highly and quite importantly in Indian culture, and being bald and going through hair loss is really seen as like a negative thing in Indian culture. So if you're sort of growing up in these cultures where hair loss is perceived to be a really bad thing, again, that could be playing on your mind. It could be really stressing you out. I've had people tell me that they're genuinely going through like depression, anxiety around their hair loss because they feel so negatively towards it. And when you tell them that, why don't you embrace it? They just can't even comprehend what that will be like because they've got all these negative things about embracing hair loss going on in their head. So yeah, fear of change, guys, I think is very, very scary. It's something I experienced, something that most bald guys will experience as well. But I'm here to tell you, look, it's not as scary as you think it might be. Think of all the changes that you've made in your life, which you initially thought were going to be scary. And you know what? Probably 9 out of 10 of them worked out to be okay. Yeah, you change your job, you change your car, etc. All these things that you probably thought would have been scary didn't turn out to be that scary. You manage expectations, you adapted to your new look, your new job, your new house, etc. within the first few days. Turns out that people's opinions and perceptions of whatever you've changed into is not as bad as you initially thought. So it's exactly the same with hair loss, guys. So if you think, you're fearing the change of embracing the hair loss, I'm here to tell you that, look, don't worry about it. At least give it a go. If it's not for you, you don't like it, you can always regrow your hair, just as I'm doing now. Not because I'm scared of hair loss, but I'm going through a bit of an experiment, which you guys will hopefully see in a few videos time. But yeah, it's not as scary as it's made out to be, guys. So hopefully that's just a little bit of Sunday motivation for you guys to kickstart the next week strong. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time.